Hey there guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Carter Sirach, the productive dude, and in today's video we are going to be going over the virtual whiteboard tool known as Miro. So in this video I'm going to give you guys everything that you need to know about Miro from start to finish, and by the end of this video you're going to be a Miro hero. Okay, that was kind of cheesy. Today I'm going to be giving this tutorial on my MacBook. But I'd also recommend, if you have an iPad or if you have the Apple Magic Pencil, I recommend you give that a try, because with the Magic Pencil, Miro is a much better drawing and writing tool. Without it, you can definitely still use the software, but this is a really great addition to Miro in my opinion. So for today, we're just going to stick in the software on my laptop. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, so when you open Miro, the first thing that you'll see is the All Boards section. Now, this is where you start out when you're creating a new whiteboard, and you can also categorize these boards into projects, which basically sets up the sharing functionality so that you can make certain boards private for certain groups. But I'm not going to dig too much into projects. They're pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much just, a way to separate boards and share them with different people. So to start out, you just want to click New Board, and it's going to open up a new board, and it's going to give you an option of using a template that Miro has pre-created. If you go over to Miroverse, you can look at all of these awesome templates that other people have created, but this can get really confusing really quick. I recommend starting out with your own clean slate and just giving everything a test run before you move into it. You can also go and create personal templates if you're finding that you're reusing a lot of things. Like I created a notes template. It's kind of a Cornell note style, a weekly schedule template, and also a web design strategy session template for my sales calls. So there's lots of different ways to use it, and a lot of different people in the community that have created templates. But let's just start out by closing the template window, and we'll just start with our infinite canvas right here. So what I mean by infinite is literally it's infinite. So if I draw this little spiral here and I zoom in, it only can zoom in so far, but you can zoom out as far as you want, right? And if I added a bunch of other stuff over here, that would add to the canvas, right? And I can zoom out even more from there, and so on. You can continue to just grow this canvas on and on until, pretty much you've just got a ton of different sections in here. And that's what I mean by endless canvas. All right, so I'm just going to grab the eraser tool. I'm going to erase through all of this, and we're going to come back to center here. And yeah, let's just start out by looking at some of these different tools. Now, the first tool is the select tool. You can drag and hold to basically select different elements. Let's say we have a few different drawn on elements right here, one right there and one right there. If I wanted to select both of them, I can grab them like so and then move them around, or I can select one at a time and move it closer to the other one. The next tool that I want to highlight is the pen tool. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can manipulate this. There are kind of 3 base templates that you can set for the pen. So let's say we want like a really thin one that's just normal, black text, and then maybe we want another one that's a little bit thicker to use for underlines or something like that. And then we've got this one, maybe it's even thicker. Okay, so these are kind of our 3 pens. Okay, so I can write my name here, and this is where the Apple Pencil comes in really handy. It's really nice to use on something like this. And then there's the highlighter, which is similar to the pen. You can set up these custom presets and kind of just highlight over things, and it has a bit of a lower opacity, so it hides things behind it. So the highlighter can definitely come in handy when you have a lot of information and you want to go through again and just highlight different things. And then this is one of my favorite tools. It's the Smart Drawing tool. So if I wanted to draw a circle, I'd simply draw a really bad circle, and then it would create a better circle for me, and that turns it into a shape that I can then manipulate. So I can go in here and change the inner color. I can change the thickness of the outside. I can get rid of the outside altogether by hitting this button right here to make it completely transparent. Another thing that we can do is change the type of outline that we have. So we want dots or lines, we can do that. Or we can just do a solid line all the way around. So let's try a few more shapes. As you can see, that's pretty nice to be able to kind of just create these different shapes and then drag them around, use them for whatever you might want to use them for. But as you can see, it's quite intuitive. Even if I draw like a really bad circle, it usually figures it out for you. I'm just gonna drag and delete to get a fresh canvas here. So the next tool that I want to take a look at is cards. In order to use a card, you're just going to click on this card button right here, and you're going to tap to create one. If you click this expand button right here, you're going to basically get another way to edit your cards. You can add a title. So let's say that we are creating a meal plan for a week. So let's say one night we're making chicken parm, and I could put some bullets in here. So let's say bullet 1 is I need chicken breasts, and then I also need fresh mozzarella. Right, so I kind of list out my grocery list here, and then you can add tags. So let's say that we're going to tag this with maybe Italian. So maybe we just kind of use tags to describe what type of meal it is. Maybe we do, if we're trying to get healthy, I'd say this is a bit of a cheat meal, so maybe we put cheat meal in there. And then you can also assign this. So let's say that it's my responsibility to make that dinner. So I'm going to click on my name here. It's assigned. And then we need a due date. So the due date would be like, let's say we're making this meal plan for next week. Let's say it's Monday, right? I can add Monday. And then I can just exit out. And this is actually quite easy to edit from here as well, in this little toolbar that it gives you when you click on the card. So you can also switch things around here if you want to give it a different color or whatever. You can add tags quite easily here. It will pull up all of your existing tags as well. So that's kind of nice. You can insert a link. So let's say that we have a specific recipe that we want for the chicken parmesan. Paste the recipe link in here. Alright, so basically that's how you create a card. There's lots of different ways that you can use these, and if I click on this, hit Command C, Command V, I could recreate another card, and let's say I wanted to plan another meal here. I could just enter the next meal. I could expand this, and then I could come in here and kind of change things. There's lots of different ways that you can use these cards and view them, but I will go into that more in future videos. Let's just stay on track for today and move on to the next tool. The next tool that I want to talk about is the sticky note tool. So the shortcut for this one is N. So I'm just going to click N, and then you can actually just click around and create new sticky notes. So we're going with the classic yellow sticky note to start out, and I can just literally start typing. So let's just say this is a list of different things that I need to remember. Remember to pick up groceries. If I want to, I can hit Command C, Command V to copy and paste. Let's say I want to change the color of this sticky note. I can add some new text, create a YouTube video. Now we can highlight these, drag them around. I can hit N if I want to come in and create new sticky notes. Just tap to create. Then we can change the color. And it's literally just like a whiteboard that you would have, right? So I can write here, write my name, write whatever. And then I've got my sticky notes over here as well. The next tool that we're going to look at is the text tool. So I'm going to click on text here. You can just tap that. It's a lot like other text tools and other softwares that you may have seen. You can just click here to select a font face. All right, so I'm going to go with caveat. And you can write something useful. And then there's lots of different ways that you can manipulate it. You can change the decoration, so you can make it bold, you can make it italic, you can underline it, we can strike things out if we want to. You can change the alignment, you can add a list, then you can actually select different pieces of the text to change specific colors or highlights. So the text tool is pretty flexible, pretty good at what it does. You can also change the background color. So this example looks pretty ugly, but there's lots of great features in the text tool that you can use, so bear in mind all of those. Next, we're going to look at the shapes tool. If you want a shape without using the smart drawing tool that I showed you earlier, you can use a square, rounded square, circle, or an oval, triangle, and so on. You can add all of these different shapes in here. If you want to keep the shape proportional, just click on the shape that you desire, like a circle here. Let's say we want to keep it a perfect circle. You would just hold Shift once you're dragging. So you actually have to start dragging and then hold Shift. All right, and then it will kind of drag it however you want it, but it'll keep it as a circle. Same with like the star, for instance. Start dragging and then hold Shift to kind of confine it to kind of staying in those same proportions there. And then to change the color of these, you're just going to click on them, Click on the border here. You can change the thickness of it, opacity and whatnot. Now I'm actually going to keep out some squares here because for the next tool, I want to show you, it can be very useful to have a few shapes in there. So the next tool is the arrow tool or the connector line, right? So when I click on this connector line tool, and then I select what kind of connector line I want. Do I want just a normal line or an arrow? Let's say I just want a line. I can connect two shapes like so. So you can connect them to all these different points and the line kind of just conforms to wherever it needs to go. This is a great way of mind mapping and connecting ideas. It's also great for site maps. So let's just say I wanted to do that, and then I can actually come in and change the type of line as well. So I can change the thickness of the line. I can change if it's just kind of a squared off edge, or if it's more of a straight line or a fluid motion. I can change if it's dotted or lined. And you can add text along the line as well. So I would just say something along the lines of, hello, this is a square connected to a square. And it kind of just fills it right in for you there. So this is a great way of describing a relationship between two things. So maybe this is the driving force of this. You can also switch it over to arrows. And they don't have to connect. That's the other great thing is like if you want it to, you could just do that. You can also bend this as you'd like to. Some of the best arrows that I've ever seen in like a whiteboard software for sure. So I really like that. And then there's also these ones here, a little bit thicker. Those are kind of neat to work with. Now the next tool is a comment tool. So again, I'm going to use some squares to illustrate this. And this comes in handy when you have some collaboration going on. So you click on the comment tool and then you can tap on any specific element and just leave a comment. So I don't like this square at Carter. All right, and then if I had somebody in here named Carter, it would pull them up, but you have to invite people to the board specifically. So once you have people in there, it'll show up all your teammates in there as you start to type their names. You can also add an emoji in there. Actually, we should do an angrier one. There we go. Then later on, if I want to come in and click on this comment, I can resolve it. I can change the color of it. Or I can continue a conversation here. Once you hit resolve, it'll make the comment disappear. The final feature that we're going to look at today is the frame tool. So this tool can be very useful in a lot of different situations. It can be useful for creating different workspaces within one board. So let me just give you an example of how to use this. I'm going to drag out just a custom frame, and I can give the frame a name. So let's just say project 1. And one of the great things that you can do with frames here is you can move them around, and they're going to keep everything within them that you put in there. So let's say I want to put a few sticky notes in here. And then the great thing is if I want to drag around this frame, I just select it, and then I can drag it around, and it holds these sticky notes within it. You can also click on the frame and then click this grid view, and that will actually organize all of your sticky notes. You can also change the color of the frame's background. I recommend going with a lighter color, so everything under it is nice and easy to see. The great thing is if I want to move one of these out, I can, and then it's no longer part of the frame. So if you have two frames, this can be very useful because you can actually just drag things from one frame to another. And if you're in that grid view, they'll just conform right to the frame and they'll fit in nicely. So let's say you wanted to create a Kanban board, which they already do have a Kanban board template in here, which is kind of nice. But if you wanted to create your own custom Kanban board, you could literally just come in and set a status here. So project 1 would be a status, right? So let's just make it incomplete. And then I can name all of these by their status. So maybe we have some tasks that are incomplete, and then maybe we have some that are stuck, and then maybe some that are working, and then some tasks that are complete. So let's say you want to put sticky notes in here, you can do that, conform them to the grid, and then as these different tasks, if you think of these sticky notes as tasks, get moved to a different category, you can kind of just change them over, right? So it's a good way to visualize where a project is at. I'm sure the intuitive ones here have realized that you can also use cards for a use case like this. So you can click into here, create a card, and then that can become part of your frame. As you can see, that frame conformed really nicely to the size of the card. So let's just say that this is project 1, You could go in, expand it, and add some tasks that need to be completed here to project 1. And then once project 1 moves from incomplete to working, you can move it and it will conform to the new frame, as you can see. So this is just one way to use frames. Frames also have some different views, so you can create frames for like a phone view, right? Pretty neat. I'm gonna hit show device and that actually adds that little frame there. So that's kind of nice for just like mocking up a website. And maybe we have a tablet one, we could do a tablet version, and so on. Now you might notice there's a few tools in here that I didn't really cover. I didn't cover the Kanban boards, didn't cover uploads, and I didn't cover templates. These are all kind of multifaceted tools. Templates, you can go in here, and as I was saying in the beginning of the video, you can create your own templates, or you can discover new templates in the Miro library, which is kind of nice. They've got different ones in here that you can test out, like this mind mapping one. Let's just hit use template, see what it's all about. As you can see here, it kind of just lays out this mind map for you right off the bat. Now you can also kind of hit plus here to add more connectors, and that's kind of a nice way to start out, just by using some of these templates, testing them out, right? Another one that you might see here is this upload button. You can upload different web clips, you can upload images or PDFs or whatever it might be from your device. You can also use this Kanban tool here to create these Kanban boards, which are kind of nice, a little bit more intuitive than the frames that I just showed you, but this is a kind of a built-in feature, so it's not as flexible. If you click on the more button down here, there's tons of different apps that you can use as well. You can use iframe code, which is kind of nice, which means basically you can pretty much embed anything in a Miro board. And there's lots of different tools in here that you can kind of work with, and if you want to, you can even go to the Get More Apps section and look at some of these apps and integrations that have been created. One of them that I like is the Miro for Google Calendar. This automatically creates a Miro board and adds a link to your Google Calendar so that you can collaborate on a Miro board. Now, let's talk about collaborating on a Miro board, because that's kind of a huge part of this, right? Is that it's good for virtual sort of collaboration. So if I draw a few things in here and I want to work with somebody on something, what I can do is I can come down here to the frames section. Let's say I have some frames and I want to illustrate a specific idea on a specific frame. Let's just drag this over here. Let's say it's off my screen, and we start right here. If I wanted to, I could go to frames, then I could click on any of the frames that are listed here, and it would pull it in and kind of center it in the view. So that's kind of a nice way to pull people to a direct sort of frame and area while you're working on a project together. There's also the presentation mode. So if you click on presentation mode, you can toggle between frames. I don't really have that done very well here, but if you wanted to, you could create frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, and so on, and you could illustrate, sort of a progression, if you will, in a presentation. So you'd start on one frame to illustrate one idea, you'd go to the next, or you can just hit present, and it'll give you this nice view as well. You can also view comments. I'm gonna hit show resolved. So if you have comments on different things, they're gonna pop up in here. And this can be very useful for making adjustments to different things. You can categorize the comments by changing the color of them. So maybe you set up blue are for fixes, maybe green is like things that they like, and then black is just like a general comment. So then you can go through all the blue ones and make sure that your fixes are done. So you can kind of click and go to the said comment. Next, there's a chat feature, which is pretty useless if I'm in here alone. But again, you can kind of use an @ tag to mention whoever you want to, @. So, hey, @Carter, I might say. And I don't have anybody in here, but if I did, I could click on them. This is a Miro tutorial. I could hit enter. And it adds it to a chat board for this particular board. If we added some cards in here, you could also take advantage of the cards view. So let's just add a few. Let's go to the cards view. And you can kind of view the cards in a list form right here. You can sort them by, the cards that are assigned to you, and whoever is viewing this section here will only see the cards that are assigned to them. So let's just go here add an assignee. So I'm only going to see card 1 on there if I click into that cards view, right? So hit my @ and it's only going to show me my cards. This can be really useful for project management because you can separate out the cards that somebody else has to work on, and then you can kind of have a global view here as well, which is really nice. You can also do screen sharing here. So I'm going to illustrate this by pulling up Miro on my iPad, and I'm going to go into our workspace. So now I've got one instance of Miro going over here on my iPad, and then I've got one going on my computer. And what I can do is start a video, and you'll notice that on this side it pops up the 2 instances of Miro that I have open. So right here I'm viewing it as one person, and on my computer I'm viewing it as another. So this can be nice because you can turn on your camera on one side, and then I can turn on my camera over here, and we can kind of have a conversation. Let's imagine that this is 2 people talking to each other from different devices, right? So this can be very useful, not as a way to talk to myself, but as a way to collaborate with your teammates if they're on Miro. You can also open up voting. So let's just vote on which card we like the best, okay? So let's say we've got an orange card. Let's say we've got a black card and a green card. If I go to the voting section here, we can start a voting setup basically where votes per person is, let's say, each person has 3 votes, and we're going to set this voting up for cards. So I'm just going to do cards. Then I'm just going to name it which card is the best. Now let's imagine we've got a few people in here on the call. They're all over here in their own, unique box talking to each other, and then they can start voting, right? So I just hit start now, and it starts a 1-minute voting session. So I'm going to hit vote now. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to click +1, +2, and then I kind of like this one, so I'll hit a +1 there as well. And now I've used up all my votes. Now the person over on the other screen can go to their voting window. They can hit vote now, and then live I'll see an update of what they're voting for. All right, so I've voted for them, and now I'm going to hit done. And now it's going to process the results of the vote. I'm going to leave the call on my iPad, so now it's just me here on my computer, and I'm going to end the call there. Another cool thing that you can do when you're on calls is use this little reaction button. So if you like something, hit a few pluses. If you love something, you do the heart, and so on. It's kind of a fun way to interact with your team. Another great feature for when you're on those live calls is the timer. This kind of keeps everyone on track, so you can set a 10-minute timer. People can break out into their own separate frames and maybe work on something, collaborate on something, and then kind of come back into a central call when this is done. You can pause the timer as you wish, or you can completely stop it. You can also add some music in the background. So let's do calm flow, hit play. And it's going to play some nice music while you're working. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at the activity feature. This is just a great way to see all of the activities that everyone has taken on the board, and you can also restore different things that have been deleted in the past. So let's restore this deleted card, this deleted note. Let's say we wanted to restore a few things. We could do that just like so. So today we went over a lot of the tools in Miro. I kind of gave you that Miro 101 entry-level course, but in the future I want to create some more specific videos showing you how to go about creating mind maps, creating your own specific assets in Miro, and really just using it as a day-to-day software because it's so powerful, it's so flexible. You can use it for project management, but you can also get that whiteboard feel that a lot of us entrepreneurs, students, creators, designers, we love that feel of having a whiteboard and being able to write with something like the Apple Pencil. So I will definitely be going more in depth on Miro in the future. So check out the playlist that I'm going to be putting up in one of these corners here. And also subscribe to this channel if you want to get notified when we put out a new video. You can hit the notification bell to make sure that you stay updated when we put out a new video. Otherwise, it's not going to notify you. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next video.